I don't know why, but today I'm feeling another shouty bouty. Welcome back to another video here on Mummified Games. I'm Tony, and today it's tournament time, baby! Okay, let's run down where we left off on the Great Big Tournament. We've made the first 34 games I reviewed fight it out. I'm going to be throwing a screenshot of where we last left off. Here's the standings right now. I've got the pairs grouped up in a rainbow of colors here. Each pair is a match we did before. Everyone who has a color on them was paired up to fight, and the last column to the right is Skyrogue sitting at the top of the hill. If you haven't seen the first video, a link in the description will be there to take you to the playlist of these tournament videos. Now, I have another 30 games reviewed. I figured it's a good time to review them and see who will be the top dog in this tournament. I want to write a paragraph about how I feel and why I'm doing this, but that's not really important right now. I want to make this video, so I'm going to do it. Remember, friends, the one rule of these fights is to ask the question, which one of these games would you rather play for 1 more hour? With that out of the way, let's take it down to the ring and see some action. Let's get it on. First round, Mint versus Down to Earth. I had to go back and double check what the heck Down to Earth was. Though, Down to Earth was a great execution and I love the slap together nature of game jams, if I had to do another hour in Down to Earth, I wouldn't have anything new to game, while Mint has so much more to do. Next, Art School versus Night of the Consumers. Night of the Consumers has way too much anxiety. I didn't get far in the last playthrough, only getting about 2 shelves stacked. The level of difficulty is way too high. I would rather take a game that's too calm than too stressful. I'm gonna give it to Art School. Next, Extreme Meat Punks Forever versus A Mortician's Tale. Mortician's Tale doesn't have that more that I could gain from it. I already beat it and there wasn't much variation to what could happen. I could try speed running it, but why bother? I would want to finish the story of Meat Punks. Next, No Delivery versus Celeste. The developer of No Delivery reached out to me after the review went live and told me that the game is, quote, the definition of a slow burn. And that's great to note. That means that the game would definitely benefit from another hour of play to get to that point. But Celeste is a fun game right now. I don't have to wait for the game to start popping off. I would play Celeste for another hour for sure. Next, Okie Spellbook 1 versus Walden. Would I rather play a game that was hard to play and not understand, or a game that was boring to play but easy to understand? As sick and twisted as it is, I think I would rather play more Okio Spell. Next, Babysitter Bloodbath versus Depth of Extinction Definitive Edition. DOE for sure. I was too upset with the controls, gameplay, lack of proper save feature, and I could have more fun, easier experience, and you can save the game whenever you want. I'm sorry, I'm still salty about that stupid save feature. Next, Changeling versus Hag. Visual novels are always going to be at the bottom of the list for me. If all I'm doing is reading the whole time, then what's the point? There are a few choices that one could make in the game that would change the outcome to it. I don't feel like I would play another hour of a visual novel. I'm gonna have to go with Hag. Next, Quiet as a Stone versus Tonight We Riot. I'm going to include Quiet as a Stone in both lists for game and tools, since it is a game in the sense that you can collect games and unlock more things, but it's also a tool since you can set the stage for more things to come. But unfortunately, I would rather play a 100% game more than a 50-50 game. We're gonna go with Tonight We Riot. Next, 2064 Read-Only Memories versus Fugue in Void. I loved the visuals in Fugue in Void. The art and sound design was so good. I love what it was trying to... Wait, am I getting it mixed up with Islands? Right, okay, so Fugue in Void was still a great walking simulator that brings a great sense of image and rooms to walk around in. But since there was so much more story in 2064, the game had so much more character. It's a matchup of character versus world, and I'm gonna have to give it to 2064. Next, Islands Non-Places versus Beglitched. I think Islands is a better game, and I think I had more fun with it. But would I rather do another hour in a game I've already beaten? Will it have the same power? I don't want to do that again. I'll go with Beglitched. There's a lot more for me to see in this game. I'm not done with the story, and the puzzles are kind of my thing. Next, Long Gone Days versus Backspace Boken. My skills as a typer are limited. It's not as if I'm going to be advancing in skill or technique at the rate like getting better at a game. I think getting good at Dark Souls was faster than me becoming a faster typer. Admittedly, I am working on my right hand, staying on J, K, L, and semicolon, instead of jumping back and forth between two fingers. Anyway, I like to work on Long Gone Days for another hour. There's more left on the table with what that game is offering me to enjoy. Next, Anodyne versus From Orbit. From Orbit's lack of post-game over help really hurts my desire to go back and play it for any longer. Anodyne has a ton more to go see, unlock, and fight. I would definitely choose to play more Anodyne. Next, Democratic Socialism Simulator versus Cardinal Chains. Given the option between these two, I honestly think I would pick the puzzle game. There's a lot more levels to get through, more time could be dropped into this, and it could get the brain going, like spending an hour on a trend. Next, Forget the Breaks versus Monster Match. Monster Match, I don't feel my skill growing as much as it did with Forget the Breaks. I can quickly get into a game, run down the tracks, and keep trying more and more. Monster Match is a delayed result to how you've played, and because of that, it delays the improvement of skill. Next, Mobius versus Galactic Wars. Okay, so these two were my least favorite from the browser games video, but I've gotta say, while Galactic Wars was easier to control, the lack of anything new being introduced in the game as you played, other than different enemy ships that shoot the same shots in new ways, Mobius is not well liked because it's hard to control and manipulate, but still easy to play once you get it in the right spot. And I can keep playing it for a lot longer than I could with Galactic Wars. On to round 2, Minute versus Art School. Art School is interesting and a different take on an art game, but I feel like I would have more fun playing Minute for another hour. I've got so much more to get done in that game versus doing another image prompt. Next, Extreme Meat Punks Forever versus Celeste. Meat Punks is a fun idea and has a great story that I want to see through to the end, but Celeste is much easier and cleaner to play. The fighting in Punks is rough and sometimes frustrating, while Celeste is frustrating because of my own execution. Remember how I said that the rocks were blocking some of my shots? In Celeste, it's my own fault for missing a jump. Next, Okio Spellbook 1 versus Depth of Extinction. DOE takes this one. I would rather play a game I understand than one where the puzzle is how to play the game. Next, Hag versus Tonight We Riot. Both of these games have some frustrations with their retro gameplay, but I feel like Hag was hard to play because its retro style was so brutal, while Riot was more palatable in its retro style. Not to mention that if I had to put another hour in the game, then I might get further in a story rather than in a roguelike where I might just be stuck back where I started to begin with. Next, Read Only Memories versus Beglitched. Oh, Read Only Memories for sure takes this one. I liked Beglitched, but it didn't have the same charm and polish that ROM had. There's a mystery that still needs to be solved. Gotta plug my headphones into more parking meters. Long Gone Days versus Anodyne. Both stories are about a hero working to save an area from the evils that are closing in. I'm gonna pick Anodyne because it feels more like I'm doing the things and not what the developer wants. Next, Cardinal Chains versus Forget the Breaks. Both games are great to sit and work on getting better at, but I'd rather play Forget the Breaks simply because it has more action than the puzzle game. Round 3, Minute versus Celeste. Is it Celeste? Is that the game I want to play right now? Would I want to figure out more hidden secrets and unlock more things in Minute? Or is it the story, charming art, and challenging gameplay in Celeste going to keep me coming back for more? Oh yeah, Celeste definitely takes this one for sure. Next, Depth of Extinction versus Tonight We Riot. Where I left off in Riot, the game started getting really tricky in its levels. I know that with some more work, I could push a couple more worlds forward, but DOE had a lot more speed to it. I was moving a lot faster, going from level to level without much struggle. Maybe the rise in difficulty will take off after a while in the next hour of play. I think I would rather go back and play more DOE. Not to take away from Riot, I still like that game a lot. Next, Read Only Memories versus Anodyne. Am I gonna pick a text mystery game over an action retro Zelda clone? I think I just might. The charm of ROM is so pleasant. Round 4, Celeste versus Depth of Extinction. Wow, I would not have imagined pairing these two games against each other. Though I enjoy both of these games, Celeste was more enjoyable, but I didn't want to just edge it out because of that criteria alone. So thinking about other things, the art in DOE is a bit too chunky and not as appealing as the art in Celeste, but I think the main thing that rules out DOE is the lack in the story. The writing and events are not that interesting as it stands right now in my book. I'm not pulled into the world as much as I am in Celeste. And without another game to go against Celeste, I have to end this video at the end of round 4. Maybe next time we'll have enough games to see if someone can knock Skyrogue out of the sky. I said before in my previous years that I want to make these tournaments an end of the month thing, making the last video of the month another fight. I'm going to put this one out now. Since I've got 7 videos now under my 2022 belt, I don't want my first video back to be a tournament, and instead focus on what this channel is all about, and that's reviewing games. Okay, so at the end of August, I'll be back with another tournament video to see where the next set of games rank. What do you all think? If this was your bracket, where do you think you'd rank these games? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, I tournament to go get a nice tuna mint sandwich down at my local deli. I'm off to dinner. You all do the YouTube dance. Like, sub, bell, comment with your thoughts, and tell someone you know about these videos. And as always, friends, keep digging. We'll make it out sometime. See you in the next one.